Hi guys, SolarZar here on our next episode. In this episode, we're going to be installing a HyperEng Sure Start. As you might have remembered from our previous episode, we installed an Emerson Sure switch. Now we're moving into installing the HyperEng Sure Start, which is the soft starter for our compressor. The object here for us is that we're going to actually try to reduce the inrush amps, which at this particular 4-ton air conditioner is 105 inrush amps. And with the Sure Start installed, we're expecting that to be somewhere around south of 30 amps when we turn this up. So we'll go through the wiring procedures of how this is actually connected, and then from that we will work towards testing this, ensuring the power validations are what we're expecting, and then we'll tune back in later on in the episode to talk about some of the wiring diagrams and things that you need to be actually watching for in relation to your particular compressor. She just got a bath.
Safety first. Always pull the fuse and give the capacitor time to de-energize, approximately 2 minutes. And if you don't have time for that, take a screwdriver and go across the lead so that you can properly ensure that it's de-energized, because you can get a significant shock from them. It's very important to always take pictures of your work before you get started in order to ensure that you know where your wires were in case you run into problems and have to back out your installation back to the original design. Don't skip this step. This is very important, and you will eventually run into a problem where this is going to save you. So always take care of that. Always study and map out your wiring before you do a project like this. In my example, the contactor wiring was off just slightly enough to where the contactor points were actually confusing me associated with where these wires needed to go. So it's always important that you actually double check, draw these out on the instructions, and make sure before you start moving wires around and attaching them to things, you understand exactly what it is that you're attaching them to, so that you can be very clear about what you're expecting those wires to do as you make the connections. Okay, my cameraman was zoomed in just a little too much, but I'm going to talk you through this. First thing we're going to do is we're going to short across the capacitor just to make sure that we've got that cleared, and then we're going to pull the run wire, which is the yellow wire, off of the Emerson Sure switch and attach it to the run position of the HyperEng Sure Start. That's going to be hard to say after a little while, but we'll try to keep up. Alright, so we're going to take the yellow run wire off of the compressor and attach it to the run winding position on the HyperEng Sure Start. Don't get misconstrued by the colors, because the colors of your wires may vary depending on your model. So it's important that you understand and map out and draw out ahead of time exactly where these wires are supposed to go. Okay, now we take the red active wire from the Sure Start and connect it to the run position on the Sure switch where the yellow wire was formerly connected. Next, we take the black wire from the Sure Start and connect it to the common position on the Sure switch. Then we take the blue wire from the HyperEng Sure Start and connect it to the capacitor. Then we take the brown wire from the Sure Start and connect it to the capacitor. Okay, that's it. We're just going to verify our wiring, make sure that we looked at everything and we understand exactly what we're about to do and set up, and we move into the startup phase. Okay, recap. 105.5 max inrush amps with a nominal run amperage of 15.5. Very important. That's what we're shooting for. Here's a little more zoomed out look of all the connections. You can slow this down and take a hard peek at each one of them and make sure you understand exactly where they're all going. try to move them out of the way so you can see all the connections just a little bit better and kind of see where they're all going. Double check your wiring every time so that you can be sure that you understand exactly where things are. Don't get misconstrued with the red wires on the bottom down there. One's power and then the other one's attached to the run wiring positions. You've double checked your wiring, so now you can reinsert your fuse. Okay, so we've got an amp meter on here and we're watching it. Now understand that the Sure switch is going to take a little bit of a delay. It's about 90 seconds and it's a protection mechanism to ensure that it's got valid voltage. I don't have a hold feature on my particular amp meter, so we're listening for the inrush to come in. Plus we've got the camera locked on it and we've been watching it on the video. It was a little bit slow, but we managed to catch it at 48 amps when it actually started up, which is fantastic and better than the 105 amps that we were expecting, so that was pretty good. Now the device will continue, the HyperEng Sure Start will continue to learn as it runs, and it will continue to improve upon its ability to place the amperage against the compressor, and that's one of the features that it has. So the next instance of the startup, so we took several readings and it went down measurably each time that it fired up. Remember now, I'm on one leg at this point, so you're only seeing one leg of the amperage, and in each instance we've tried to put a freeze frame here, where in this case you see 40 amps where previously we had 48 amps that came up on the original register. Now remember, as a baseline, we test this and we were over 50 amps on each leg when it first turned up. So it's important that you run this over and over for a few times because it gets better each time. And in this particular next run that we had, we saw it drop down to 28 amps. So we saw that we were having a progressively active, positive result, so we stopped it right after this test. And I've measured a few others using Grafana, and I'll bring those up. So we didn't have Grafana up and working at the time when we started just running the air conditioner and testing it, but once I did get it up, I was getting some measurements. This shows that we had a 16.30 max amperage on both legs, phase A and B, relative to the underlying HVAC when it turned up. I turned this up just so you guys could get a look at it and just understand the benefit of where this thing can lead once you get it installed. So let's put it in perspective. Placard on this side, 105.5 locked rotor amps. That's the inrush amperage that you normally should see when you actually start this compressor up. Our baseline test to compare against it was 102 locked rotor amps, measuring phase A and B. After letting this run, and let's remember, I filmed this back in November. It is now February when I'm finishing up all my editing and collecting all my data. I did not have Grafana running. I am now seeing 16.3 max amps on both phase A and B. This is a significant change, and it's the benefit of it is just going to pay dividends for me on when I'm running a generator. So that's the point of actually putting this video together for you guys. So full disclaimer, your results may differ than mine. I'm going to continue testing this into the summer. I'll come back and put another addition to this if we see any variations to the actual performance of the HyperEng Sure Start. You can't expect the same results on your particular instance. Your power is going to change, your wiring is going to be different, but I can consider this to you is that I was expecting a 60% decrease in amperage load whenever I went down this path. I'm seeing something better. I don't know if it's going to hold true, but we'll continue to watch it and I'll report back to you guys. So that's the real point of this, and so I hope you guys gather that and you see some real benefit of what this actual data can actually provide.
Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. The expectation was for us to minimize the inrush amps that the Sure Start was providing for us. I think we achieved that based on the results that we've shown. In the next episode, we're going to be commissioning a Pulsar 12 kW generator, and we're going to convert it from dual fuel, which is propane and gasoline, to run off of natural gas. There's a slight conversion in order to increase the orifice there, so stick with us on that next episode. All the links for the equipment that we're using in this particular episode are going to be found below. Appreciate any comments. Hope you subscribe and look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Have a great day.
You're such a pretty girl. Yes. Hey. Look at Mama. I'm so pretty, Mama. Yes.
Ay, yeah, yeah.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.